Imagine you wake up, but the sand beneath you is warm, the sun is burning, and somewhere in the distance you hear shouting in a language you don't know. You stand up. You're no longer in your own century. The calendar says the year 2560 before Christ. You're in ancient Egypt, and you're just an ordinary person. In the distance, something huge rises up, bigger than anything you've ever seen, a mountain made by human hands. You move closer. It's the Great Pyramid of Giza. And you're one of the thousands of people building it, stone by stone. Many believe the pyramids were built by slaves, but the truth will surprise you. The workers were free people, paid in bread, beer, and fish. You worked in teams with funny names. One was called Friends of Khufu, another, the Drunkards. Yes, that's actually written on stones found by archaeologists. You woke at dawn. You ate hard bread and onions. Then for hours you hauled stones twice as heavy as an elephant. How did they move 2-ton stones without trucks or cranes? The secret? Water poured on the sand so the stone sled would slide more easily. And the ramps, huge slopes of earth on which the stones climbed higher and higher. Step by step, sweat by sweat. One wrong step, you'd slip. Everything ached. But in the evening you'd look up and see something magnificent taking shape. Something that would last thousands of years. But who were you working so hard for? For a single man considered a god on earth, the pharaoh Khufu. To the Egyptians, the pharaoh wasn't just a king, he was the link between people and the gods. His word was absolute law. The pyramid wasn't just a tomb, it was a machine, meant to send the pharaoh among the stars, into the afterlife. The Egyptians believed death wasn't the end, it was just a door to another world, where the soul lived forever. But to reach the world beyond, the body had to be preserved. And so one of the strangest arts was born, mummification. First they removed the brain, through the nose, with a metal hook. Yes, you heard that right, through the nose. Then they took out the organs and placed them in special jars. The heart, however, they left in place. They believed the soul lived there. The body was covered in special salt for 40 days, to dry it out completely. Then it was wrapped in dozens of meters of cloth. Between the layers they placed amulets and jewelry, to protect the soul on its journey. Weeks of careful work. The Egyptians had over 2,000 gods. Let's meet a few of the most important ones. Ra, the sun god. Every day he crossed the sky in a boat of gold, and at night he fought a giant serpent in the darkness. Anubis, the god with the jackal's head. He guided the souls of the dead and watched over mummification. And Osiris, lord of the world beyond. He judged every soul that came before him. Here is the most terrifying moment, the weighing of the heart. Your heart was placed on a scale, face to face with a feather. If the heart was lighter than the feather, meaning full of good deeds, you passed into paradise. If not, a monster devoured it on the spot. Now imagine you want to write something. There's no alphabet like ours. Instead you draw birds, eyes, waves. These are hieroglyphs. Only special people, called scribes, knew how to write. They were greatly respected. A scribe never hauled stones in the sun. They wrote on papyrus, a kind of paper made from plants that grew on the banks of the Nile. The inventors of paper, thousands of years before us. For a long time, no one could read hieroglyphs anymore. They were a total mystery until an amazing discovery. The Rosetta Stone. On it, the same text written in 3 different ways. That's how scholars, after centuries, finally cracked the code. But nothing in Egypt would have existed without one single thing. The River Nile. The Egyptians said that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. Every year the Nile overflowed and covered the fields with rich black mud. On it grew the best harvests. Imagine you're a farmer. Your whole life depends on this river. Too little water. Famine. Too much. Disaster. That's why the Egyptians invented the calendar, to predict the floods. And they divided the year into 365 days, exactly like we do today. Now think about what an ordinary day looked like. Houses were made of mud bricks dried in the sun, cool in that terrible heat. Children played with dolls and balls made of papyrus. They even had board games. One was called Senet, 5,000 years old. Both men and women wore makeup. They lined their eyes with black, not just for beauty, but also to protect them from the sun. Women had more rights than in many other ancient civilizations. They could own land, do business, and even get divorced. They loved cats madly. A cat was considered sacred. If someone harmed a cat, the punishment could even be death. They even had a cat goddess, Bastet. When a cat died, the family mourned it and sometimes mummified it too. Pharaohs were buried with astonishing treasures: gold, jewelry, furniture, food, everything they'd need in the afterlife. But so much gold attracted thieves. The tombs had traps, false corridors, and hidden chambers to fool the robbers. Thousands of years later, in 1922, an archaeologist named Howard Carter made a discovery that amazed the entire world. The tomb of Tutankhamun, the boy pharaoh, almost untouched by thieves, filled to the brim with treasures of gold. His mask of pure gold is today one of the most famous objects in the world, and you've probably seen it in books or films. It's said that those who disturbed his tomb were chased by a curse. Truth or legend? The mystery lingers to this day. The Egyptians were brilliant. They invented locks, toothpaste, and even the first forms of written medicine. Their doctors knew how to treat wounds, set bones, and perform simple surgeries, astonishing for 4,000 years ago. Their mathematics let them build pyramids perfectly aligned with the stars, a precision hard to believe even today. The Great Pyramid was the tallest structure made by humans for almost 4,000 years, no rival for all that time. In the beginning, the pyramids shone. They were covered in white, polished limestone that reflected the blinding sun. An unforgettable sight. And what stands guard beside the pyramids, silent for thousands of years? The Great Sphinx, body of a lion, head of a man, gazing forever toward the east. Who built it, and why? Even today we're not entirely sure. The Sphinx keeps its secrets, but no civilization lasts forever. After nearly 3,000 years of greatness, Egypt began to weaken. Other peoples came: Persians, Greeks, Romans. The last great queen was the famous Cleopatra. With her death, the Egypt of the pharaohs faded away. But its memory never truly died. Now you open your eyes again. You've returned. The sand is gone. You're back in your own world, in the present day. But Egypt is still there. The pyramids stand even today, under the same sun, after more than 4,500 years. Think about it. The ordinary people who built them never lived to see them finished. But their work outlived them by thousands of years. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of ancient Egypt, that the ideas, courage, and work of people can last longer than any empire. And now, when you see a pyramid, a cat, or even a calendar, you know that a part of ancient Egypt still lives on, all around you. Thanks for traveling through time with us. Which civilization do you want to explore next time? Tell us in the comments.